woman wrote this article. I wish I could give her credit. I would if I could remember it. It was an article she wrote, and she said, I bet that if men or partners, if partners understood perimenopause and the transition, there'd be a lot less divorces. There'd be a lot less breakups, so to speak, because in this transition time, especially if you're a man, men don't change really. Like they don't have a roller coaster to go on, so they don't really have a roller coaster to go off.
Warning, warning. As a medical doctor, I must inform you that there are side effects to this coaching session. Beware. It may enhance your self-esteem, cause you to experience vibrant health, encounter long-term weight loss, heal damaged relationships. Warning, there are side effects to this coaching session. It may increase your enthusiasm for life and bring about hope. It may cause you to have productive and optimistic thinking. It could even help you not allow messed up people to ruin the rest of your life and help you realize the masterpiece that you are and empower you to be the boss of your brain. Warning, these side effects may be long-term. This is Dr. Isabel from Doctoronamission.com. Hi, Carrie. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on.
I am so blessed that you are here. Where are you coming to us from?
Rainy Portland, Oregon. I looked out the window today and I said, oh, it's here. Fall is here. It's pouring down rain.
Is it cold or humid and warm?
Cold. Yeah, it's cold. We're not a very humid. The Pacific Northwest is not very humid. We can get hot, but not humid. Thank goodness.
And you like living in that environment?
I've been here 22 years. We are definitely looking to snowbird sooner rather than later. We've been checking out some sunnier locations because you can only handle the rain for so long.
Yeah. Like what kind
22 years is a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time. Like what kind of areas are you thinking about?
Well, we spent the entire month of April in Phoenix, Arizona. Two of my best friends live there. And so we stayed for the month to see, can we handle it? Can we handle the heat of Arizona? Do we like Arizona? And it was just fun to have a great community already built in. And so that's where we've been sort of looking.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun. I'm all for adventures. You know, I moved to New Zealand when I was 40. So it's okay to move and just spread your wings, Eagle. Spread your wings.
Go. I love New Zealand. I've been in New Zealand twice, but I've only been just in the capital because I was lecturing. I do hormone education, and one of our distributors, of course, is there. And so every time they're like, and they fly me out in their winter, which is, conference season, because everyone's on holiday in the summer. So they're always like, we'll have to have you back and have you explore, the islands and really do some treks and stuff. I'm like, yeah, please. And then COVID hit.
Yes. But it won't last forever. All pandemics end.
Yes, that is true. That is
Hallelujah.
True.
How about if I introduce you to our listeners and share a little bit about your story, and then we'll take a deep dive into this whole podcast?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, please.
Okay. Let's see. Dr. Carrie Jones is a naturopath doctor, is an internationally recognized speaker, consultant, and educator on the topic of women's health and hormones. Thank you so much for doing this work. Dr. Jones graduated from the National University of Natural Medicine in Portland, Oregon, where she also completed a 2-year residency in women's health, hormones, and endocrinology. And for those of you who are not familiar with endocrinology, it's just the medical term for studying hormones. Later, she graduated from Grand Canyon University Master of Public Health. Wow. Program. Recently, Dr. Jones became board certified through the American Board of Naturopathic Endocrinology. Congratulations and
Thank
bravo.
you. Thank you.
She was adjunct faculty for many years, teaching gynecology and advanced endocrinology and fertility. While in practice, Dr. Jones served as medical director for 2 large integrative clinics in Portland, Oregon. Now, most recently, she joined Lifestyle Matrix Resource Center as the clinical expert serving the SOS Stress Recovery Program and is the medical director of Precision Analyticals. Wow.
Creators of the Dutch test.
Yes, which we'll be talking about.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
You've got a very productive life.
All around hormones. I stick in my lane. I know what my lane is, and that's what I focus on.
And that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So can you tell me your story? Like, what started you to get interested in hormones?
I knew from a very young age that I wanted to become a doctor. I thought I wanted to do OBGYN, maybe pediatrics. And I grew up in the States. I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm not from there. I wasn't born there, but that's where I grew up. And so in the South, sex ed was taught by the high school football coach, which you can imagine how well that went over. And as I got older and subsequently then found naturopathic medicine, I was just always drawn to hormones because as a woman and having lots of, female friends, I would learn very cool things. And I would tell them, did you know? Did you know? Did you know? I didn't know this. Why didn't anyone tell me this? And my friends, my mom, everyone's like, I didn't know that. Nobody taught me that. We're just sort of winging it out here in female land. And I thought, okay, this is ridiculous. And I got into more and more about hormones because I found so many people don't understand them. So many people understand puberty. We get taught how to get pregnant or how to not get pregnant. And that's it. It's like, and your education is done. Good luck, blessed be. And so many struggle, right? They struggle in their 20s. You struggle in your 30s and it's different things. And then you hit your 40s and it's a whole different world in your 50s. And I wish I had not long ago, I had somebody say, don't you wish like every 10 years we had a welcome to you this decade?
Yes,
like a webinar we all
like
watched,
an update.
Yeah, like a conference we all went to, like, welcome to your 40s. This is what's going to happen.
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
And I had wonderful patients. I'm 44 now, but when I got into practice, I was in my late 20s. And so I'd have these wonderful patients who were like, you wait, kiddo. And sure enough, every single one of them was true. Everything from, when you hit your 40s, it's going to be tougher to sleep, or whether it's around like where your weight distribution is, or brain fog, or how your periods change. And, it seems to be a very common thread, and they were right. And I feel like it's my job to help educate everyone on hormones because they're not crazy, but boy, we can feel it sometimes.
Oh yeah. And you are. And that's, that's part of the mission at Doctoronamission is teach the world about
Yes.
hormones. I wanted to, where do I start with you? Because I've got so much to ask you. I want to talk about something that's really dear to my heart, and that's anxiety and depression. Mm-hmm. And as you know, in 2013, which is such a significant year because that's the year that Dutch test started. That's the year that you started. Yep. And I was just reading that. I was like, oh my gosh, this is huge. Yeah. So in 2013, just a little bit about my story. In 2013, I decided to give away medical practice, my private practice, and start an online business. I saw Dr. Mark Hyman doing what he was doing. I was like, I can help heal the world before I die.
Yeah. Yeah.
That feeling, right?
Of course.
And so I gave away private practice and started out. So in 2013, when Dutch test started, I was a medical doctor, a wife, a mother, and a brand new medical entrepreneur online. Like, we don't get taught this stuff in medical school, right?
Not even a little bit. Yep.
No, it's not even touched on. And then the first year was fine, but then when 2014 came on board, I was then 54. And I didn't really understand that I was going through perimenopause. And so what happened was I started getting anxious. And when I get anxious, I do not sleep. And I ended up not sleeping any more than 2 to 3 hours for 17 nights straight. And by the end, being trained as doctors, we're trained to just grind it out, go into beast mode. We're okay on just a couple of hours of sleep. That is such a lie.
Yep.
And so by the end of the 17 nights, I tried to take my life twice in 3 days. And by the grace of God, that plan was stopped. And I was taken to the psychiatrist. And as a medical doctor, going to a psychiatrist, that's like bad doo-doo. you know, like you're really in a bad place. And here's what the psychiatrist said to me. He said, Isabel, I'm going to put you to sleep. And he did. He put me to sleep. And I'm grateful that he put me to sleep, because there are some good, strong, powerful medicines to put you to sleep. And here's an antidepressant. You're going to be on it for the rest of your life. And, you know, I was totally obedient and surrendered to whatever I needed to do, because I was in a bad place.
Yeah,
but
of course.
But deep down in my soul, I said, we'll see about that. I guess that's just the way I am.
Sure, but.
Yeah. And then I went on a 5-year journey and I learned about bioidentical hormones. And that's what I want to share with, you know, I want to share with our listeners, because I remember taking the Institute of Functional Medicine 2 years after you guys opened up, did a module on hormones. And one of the doctors was teaching us about bioidentical hormones. And she said that she had a friend who was doing everything she could to take good care of herself. She was healthy. She was 54. She ate well. She was into yoga, exercising, but she committed suicide.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was me. And I just want to make my mess into a message through your education. And just, if you could share with us, what do you know about anxiety and depression and women's health and menopause and perimenopause and the whole thing?
Well, it's back to the original thing I said, where I feel like we need to get taught at the start of our decade what's happening. That's a huge one, because I had a lot of women who were older than me that said, you wait, you are going to do everything right. You will change nothing. You won't change your diet. You won't change your eating. You won't, like, nothing will change in your life, but everything will change. Suddenly you'll be 45 and you can't sleep. Suddenly you'll be 48 and you'll have bad anxiety. Suddenly you're depressed out of nowhere, hypervigilant, anger outbursts. And I'm like, why would I do that? You know, like, I'm 32. Like, why would that? Girl, please, you know, and now being 44, you know, the couple days before my period starts, when all my hormones go down, I don't sleep. I know my period. It's a signal to me, like, hey, your period's coming, which is also concerning, because I know as I get more into perimenopause, that could get worse, right? But our hormones, our cyclical hormones, as females, we are on a roller coaster, but it's supposed to be a very set roller coaster. It's not supposed to change. So we go up and down and then up and down again. And then we get our period and then we start the roller coaster over. And so what happens though, is we get into perimenopause, is the roller coaster changes. And it's like getting the rug swept out from under us, because the roller coaster, which used to be very predictable and we knew it was coming usually, and we had set symptoms. Now maybe we have loop-de-loops, you know, now maybe the hill is 4 times higher, therefore the drop is 4 times lower. And this crazy roller coaster of hormones going up and down messes with our brain hormones. Our brain hormones are things like serotonin, which is what antidepressants work on. GABA, which are what anti-anxieties work on. We have dopamine, which has a lot to do with our motivation or desire. You know, we've glutamate, which is what we call excitatory, turns things on, but too much is toxic. And they absolutely react to our female hormones, estrogen and progesterone. And so as women start to go through perimenopause and the roller coaster shifts, they start to notice, especially if they are already prone to low grade or even high grade anxiety and depression. I see it gets amplified. It's like a bullhorn gets put right up to them, and the anxiety, which they thought they had under control or just hit sometimes, all of a sudden becomes a 10 out of 10. The depression that they thought they had pretty well under control, all of a sudden becomes a 10 out of 10 because of the effect of estrogen and progesterone on the brain. And so much like you, it's really important to me to tell, like, to warn women, you're not crazy. You're like, there's things you can do. There's nothing you did. It is it's not fair, but it's common. And it's perimenopause heading into menopause. I don't know who designed it. You know, like, I would like to have a word with the originator of perimenopause. Right. You and I have a few things to say to that person. Like, what were you thinking?
I know.
Right. Like, the mood swings a lot, like, beside, you know, there's a lot of women in hot flashes and the night sweats. And like, I walk into a room and I can't remember. And I used to be so sharp and I'm not sharp anymore. And I go from crying to angry, and, you know, it's like, and my joints hurt and I have vaginal dryness, and like, what is this? And so, that is perimenopause, and it's real. And if your practitioner doesn't know about it or doesn't talk to you about it, find a new practitioner, because it is, like in your case, it could be life-changing. So seek the help that you need. That's right. And doctors, you know, as a medical doctor, we're just trained to, you know, do the blood test. Or not. That's the crazy thing to me, right? Yeah. Like I've had a lot of women over the years say, I went to my doctor. I told them I felt hormonal. I don't know what that means. I just know something's wrong. So I'm blaming my hormones. And my doctor said to me, well, your hormones change every month. So like, right, it's a roller coaster. So it changes. So I'm not going to test you. Here's an antidepressant, or I'm not going to test you. What do you expect? You've got 2 kids under the age of 5 and you're running a business. You know, I'm not going to test you. Like, this is just what happens. So try to get more sleep and good luck. And I just think all that's crap. So it is. Yeah. I mean, that's what happened to me, you know. Yeah. Here's an antidepressant. You're depressed. Take it. Take some sleeping tablets. And that's all I got. And he didn't check my hormones. And, you know, in all fairness, the medical profession really isn't taught to check the right hormones, you know. No. And well, I mean, you were, you know, that was your career, but like, you know, that you're taught, it's more of acute care, right? You have, you have 10 minutes or less with the person in front of you. And so you just want to make sure that they're going to be, you can treat them and street them, and they're going to probably be okay, and hopefully be okay, and then move on to the next patient, because you have 30 people to see in a day. So it's tough to wrap your head around or start to talk to somebody in depth about, like, look, this is called perimenopause, and I'm going to sit down and explain it to you. We're going to test your hormones. We're going to work through it. It's unfortunately, a lot of doctors just don't even have time for that. No, they don't. And they don't even know what perimenopause is. Would you want to give us a definition of perimenopause so that if there are any doctors listening, they'll learn? They will learn. And so I had a colleague of mine in Northern California sent me the funniest message. This is a couple of years ago. She said, my patient, who's 50, just got back from her OBGYN, who is a female OBGYN, who said perimenopause doesn't exist. There's no such thing. And all women go through menopause at 52 years old, give or take a year. And that's that. And we were just hysterically laughing. We thought that was the funniest thing, because I thought, this is a trained OBGYN who is female herself. Wow. Who completely blew off the entire thing. Doesn't exist, not real, and wait till you're 52, it'll stop. Girl, what? Are you serious? Wake up! I know. Like, oh, and this is what's wrong with the education. So perimenopause is a transitional state you go through. So we went through puberty in our teenage years to bring us in to start our period, develop our breasts, you know, change our body shape, do all the things. And then as we get older, we have to back out of it. So it's reverse puberty. It's called perimenopause, and it's this transitional state that often hits women between their 40s and 50s, where the things are not as consistent as they used to be. So their cycles aren't as regular. Maybe they are skip cycles. Maybe they come every 2 weeks. Their symptoms change. So instead of PMS, now they're getting hot flashes and night sweats. Now they're getting, you know, they can't remember, they're having to create lists. Their mood maybe is changing. Their libido maybe is changing. Their skin is changing. The number of women who tell me, why am I developing adult acne at 50? This is ridiculous. I'm like, because it's reverse puberty. You had it coming in. Sadly, we're going to have it in some instances going out. And so it's this transition state until you hit what's called menopause. Menopause, the true definition of menopause is you don't have a period for 12 solid months. On the 13th month, you are considered menopausal. You can still have symptoms. You can still be hot, flashy, night sweaty, angry, anxious, dry. But if you don't have a period, you're considered menopausal. And it's all around, it's a reproductive thing. People say, why do we, like, what's the point? And it's because puberty puts you into reproduction, whether you want to reproduce or not. It doesn't matter. I didn't reproduce. I'm not looking to get pregnant. But my body being, you know, XX, that's what I do, is like every month. That's what my ovaries and brain and uterus prepare for. So puberty puts us into reproduction. Perimenopause is the start to come out of reproduction. Menopause is we're completely out of reproduction. Unfortunately, though, due to a number of reasons, we have crazy, crazy symptoms a lot of the time if left unchecked. And that's where the struggle is.
And how early have you seen women start perimenopause?
So they call it early menopause if it starts before 39 years old. So there's a lot of debate right now as to women in their 30s, especially their late 30s, are already starting the process. They just don't realize it yet. Mm-hmm. But then it really, I find, and you probably do too, it depends on like family history, if you know it. So like if your moms and aunts and grandmas, like they all went through menopause late in their 50s. My mom went through menopause in her 50s. Really good chance I am as well. Mm-hmm. Whereas I have other friends and like everybody, all the aunties, mom, right? The older, like everyone went through at 45. So my friends are like, great. Okay. And but technically once you hit 40, yeah, it's all fair game. You could start to go through perimenopause. However, I will say this, it's not a death sentence and it's not doom because a lot of things affect it. So for example, if you are, and that was a perfect example, if you're super stressed out, that's going to amplify the bad symptoms. So you might think, oh my gosh, I'm 42. I have all these symptoms you're talking about, you guys, I can't believe I'm so young in perimenopause. It could be the fact that we're in a, pandemic and it's massive stress and it's worsening the situation. If we weren't in a pandemic, you might not be having these crazy symptoms. They may wait for several years. So there are things that can absolutely amplify in a negative way. The things that you eat, the way that you do or don't exercise, how you do or don't sleep, the chemicals that you're around, the relationships that you have, all of these affect how your perimenopause is. So I always tell women, I want you to slide or glide into it. I don't want you to slam into it. We're trying to avoid the slamming when it comes to this transition.
If only the world would know about this, so many women would not be put on antidepressants.
Yeah. I read a statistic, and you probably have too, that and it was a tongue-in-cheek. A woman wrote this article. I wish I could give her credit. I would if I could remember it. It was an article she wrote, and she said, I bet that if men or partners, if partners understood perimenopause and the transition, there'd be a lot less divorces. There'd be a lot less breakups, so to speak, because in this transition time, especially if you're a man, men don't change really. Like they don't have a roller coaster to go on. So they don't really have a roller coaster to go off. Yes, for sure. Men can go through what we call andropause. They lose testosterone. But they don't generally experience what we experience as females. And so it's hard for them to wrap their minds around. They can understand puberty because they went through puberty too, but then they don't come out of puberty, whereas we do. And so I explain to my husband all the time, my poor husband, who's not medical at all, but he knows a lot now.
Either is mine.
Right? Like they're experts now. Yeah. And I'm like, babe, like you have to this is what can happen. I'm doing the best I can. I'm in the field. I'm trying really hard, but as over the course of the next 10 years, it's possible I might pop off. It's probably hormonal. Love me anyway.
Yeah. Don't take it seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are marriages that are ended because of hormone problems.
Yeah. And I had patients, I'm sure you did too, who came, they were in their 50s or even 60s, who look back and went, dang. Yeah. I wish I knew. I think I could have avoided a divorce. I think, and I don't mean like to give the blame all to the woman at all, but I think it just amplifies stuff you already had in your relationship. When you're on a roller coaster that completely changes, and you already have some stuff in your marriage, like our relationship, like, wow, that just makes it all worse. And especially because so many women are just like, here's an antidepressant, or, hey, good luck. Or, I don't know what to tell you. Like they just get blown off, and it's so not fair. If they didn't get blown off, if they got educated, if they got help, I think it would just help a lot.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
I remember listening to one of your interviews, or you were teaching me on a webinar, that you had been working with your doctor and about the cold showers. You were doing the cold shower. So because I just started like last month, I'm up to 1.5 minutes right now, but I'm doing it for fat burning because I just want to make sure I stay under 25% body fat for the rest of my life, because it increases our risk of breast cancer and a whole lot of other stuff. So I learned, about cold shower. Tell me, how are you doing with your cold showers? And are you still doing them? And how long are you doing it for?
So in 2020, I decided I wanted to be more resilient. So cold showers serve one of two purposes. One is to improve resiliency, reduce inflammation. It does a number of like positive health immune things. On the flip side, if you allow a cold shower, anything cold, if you get the shiver response, if you start to shiver, then that activates what's called our brown fat. So we have a lot of white fat, but it's our brown fat that they can help significantly with burning, so to speak, thermoregulation and burning of calories and energy expenditure, to get technical. So when you shiver, you rely on your brown fat to keep you warm, but then in the process helps with weight loss. So for people who are listening in very cold environments that are like, heck yeah, I shiver all the time, then this is what you're doing. If you resist the shiver, if you stand in the cold water and resist the shiver and do the breathing thing, then you go the other way. You do the resilience thing. So I was doing it for the resilience thing. So I read the account of a woman who was also looking for resilience. And she said, I got in the shower, did my shower, and then I gradually turned it to cooler, and then eventually cold water, and stayed in there to suppress the shiver and get more resilient. And I thought it was the dead of summer, which was really helpful because it was hot out. So I thought, I'm just going to get in cold water. Like I've done it before. We learn about it in naturopathic medical school. I've totally done cold showers off and on my whole life. So I thought I'm going to do it one song. So I would play a song and I would just march myself right in the cold shower. And it was wonderful. And I did it all the way through probably about Christmas of 2020. And then I decided I needed a little more warmth in my life. And then I just ended in cold showers. So now I predominantly just end in cold shower. So I start out hot and then do the last bit cold.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yep. How long do you stay in the cold?
It varies on how much time I have available. So sometimes it also depends what I'm doing. And so it can be 3 minutes, and it might just be 30 seconds because that's literally all I have. I'm running late by my own fault. So yeah. And I wash my face in cold water. Like I use warm water initially to open pores, but then rinse with cold. Yeah. Because it's the same hot and cold water for if everyone's like, you sound crazy, why would I do that? So hot and cold water makes your blood vessels and your lymphatic system, it basically makes them expand, right? Hot opens things and then cold constricts. So it's like improving the pump system through your body and improving circulation and getting things moving. And so it's a nice, you definitely feel revitalized after the end, and you got everything moving and churning and circulating. So you improve any kind of stagnation. So if you have stagnation in your lymphatic system, stagnation in your skin, stagnation anywhere, that hot and cold alternating can be helpful. I mean, think about it. Sports people use it all the time, that you hurt your knee. What do? You oftentimes either put hot or cold, depending what your doctor tells you and how far away. You get a big bruise, you might alternate hot and cold depending what you're doing. And so it's just whole body that I was using it for. Mm-hmm. So as long as you're getting the shiver response, if you
I do, but then I start breathing, but then I just slow down my breathing just so that I love this. This is good. I get to get a cold shower, the whole mind. Yep. Oh, I love this. This is great. Yeah, I love it. And then believe it or not, by the end of it, I'm actually hot.
By the end of it, I loved it. So it took me 30 seconds to adjust. Yeah. And I was doing it all last year. It took me exactly about 30 seconds to adjust. Once I hit the 30, if I could get in there for 30 solid seconds, then it didn't bother me at all. It could be as cold could be. And I didn't notice it. It felt great.
Yeah.
My hair was better. I had so many people write me and say, oh my gosh, I washed my hair and conditioned my hair in cold water. It made a difference in my hair strands. Wow. Skin. I had a lot of people were joining me last summer and they were like, wow, my skin has gotten better. I just feel better. My focus is better. Like I don't need as much caffeine. And it's amazing what people would write when they were doing it.
Well, thank you for turning me on to that. And I was like, so yeah, I feel very hot at the end. So it must be I'm burning that fat. Right?
I hope so. That's the goal.
Have you heard of Dr. Dale Bredesen? He wrote the book, The End of Alzheimer's. Yeah. I've been trained. I'm a 𝒒𝒂𝒅𝒊𝒐𝒏 2.0 practitioner.
Wonderful.
In that functional medicine practice. And we talk a lot about women. Unfortunately, 2/3 of the people with Alzheimer's are women. And if you know the protocol, one of the areas, the type is hormones. Carrie, it's amazing.
It's scary.
It's amazing how many women I do the test, the Dutch test. Hey, I do the Dutch test on men too.
Of course. Yep.
And thank you so much for teaching me how to understand all that. And the practitioners at Dutch test. And Carrie, it's so sad to see how many women have like no estrogen, no progesterone. Their DHEA is just flat. And doctors don't realize, okay, you're greater than 65. We're not going to give you any hormones.
Or even at a younger age, they could be 45, they could be 55. That study that came out years ago, the Women's Health Initiative is what really kicked off the estrogen is evil and women should just suffer. Ultimately, it was like, don't go on any kind of hormones. Hormones are bad. Period. And since that time, and everyone listened. I mean, how could you not, right? Like the study said, it caused breast cancer and it caused stroke and it caused all sorts of heart or brain issues. And so everyone came to a screeching halt when it came to taking their hormones. And since that time, wow, have we come a long way. A lot of retraction has happened, a lot of follow-up studies to say like, well, that was bogus, you stupid study. That's not true at all. There's a doctor, Dr. Doreen Saltiel, and she's done 2 menopausal hormone therapy, so MHT webinars that I've watched, where she literally combs through all the literature.
I know her.
She's fantastic.
Amazing. She's a lawyer. She's
an MD,
a cardiologist,
and a lawyer.
She's a cardiologist.
She's an interventional cardiologist, and she's like, I don't have a horse in the race. I'm just combing through the literature to see what's the truth from a lawyer point of view but as an MD. And I just love listening to her because she's no BS. She breaks everything down like a lawyer would. And she's as long as you're doing follow-up work,
right? And
as long as you don't have major risk factors, she's a fan of hormones. I mean, she's like, it protects your skin, it protects your heart,
your brain,
mostly your brain, right? Like it helps so many aspects.
Your marriage.
There's so much research out there on when women become menopausal, how like all our protective effects come to a screeching halt. There's all this research about like males this and males that. Even I've been reading about like bone health, osteoporosis, bone muscle strength, how women deposit fat. Estrogen makes us pear-shaped. And then as we get menopausal, we switch and become more glucose insulin problematic and we get apple-shaped. And it's like our bone health, our muscle strength, our shape, all of it like flips in menopause because we lose out on these hormones. And it's really sad to me that it's not talked about, or that old study is still quoted as the Bible of, well, I don't do hormones because it causes cancer. And I want everyone to listen listening to know, it's not estrogen that causes cancer. Everyone's
it's not the estrogen.
It's how your body is handling the estrogen and everything else. I read this quote that's like, cancer, the formation of cancer is an unfortunate sort of conglomeration of how you process your hormones, right? Toxicity in the world and genetics. So you could have next to zero estrogen, but if you were set up to be a cancer maker, you can still get cancer. It's just so unfortunate. And so, but as you know, like there's tests to do and there's things we can help to be preventative, minimize the risk. We can't zero the risk, but minimize the risk. And quite honestly, given the amount of estrogen-like chemicals in the environment, that's not hardly ever talked about in cancer. It's getting more and more research now, for sure. You know, think everything from plastics, phthalates, and synthetic fragrances. Think about candles. I mean, even just, you know, people have pumpkin spice candles this time of year, and they're burning it or they're setting it out so you can smell it. They have all the plugins around their house and they have plugins in their car. That's estrogen-like. So it's turning on your estrogen receptors. It's affecting your endocrine system, your system of hormones. And they're called endocrine disrupting hormones. So we don't want that system disrupted anymore. Stop disrupting it.
Yeah.
So
Stop it, everybody.
It's a lot more global than just micro focusing in and saying estrogen's bad, don't be on it. It's like,
right.
Ooh, maybe we should find out why the body is taking estrogen and doing what it does with it. Let's step back.
Very good point. That's a very holistic point. I was looking at it. Let's talk about mold. Mold and the brain. I know. So when I'm taking care of my peeps and doing the protocol, the RECODE protocol, one of the other areas is toxins, you know, that can cause us to get dementia and cognitive decline and early Alzheimer's. And mold is one of the biotoxins. Can you talk to us about how mold disrupts our hormones?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So mold is very inflammatory. So anything by inflammatory, I mean that it like turns on our immune system. Our immune system has to deal with it. Mold comes in for whatever reason, and our immune system is like, crap, I don't like you. Let's go after you. And so it creates this inflamed state. Get, you know, alarms, fire trucks, everything, sound the alarm, get the mold. And so when you are in this chronic inflamed state, because the brain's primary job in life is to protect you. It's not to make you happy. It's to protect you. And if you are a female, it's to protect you so that you have the best chances of getting pregnant should you want to. So now you have mold in the system. Mold has set off all the alarms. Your immune system is having to chronically go after it. So the brain doesn't feel protected. It doesn't feel safe. And it's going to affect the way that you do or don't make hormones. And so many men and women who are dealing with mold report a lot of hormonal disruption, whether it's their thyroid, their cortisol, their testosterone, their estrogen and progesterone. It's sort of across the board that mold can really just wreck it.
And it does. And you really can't, it's really hard to fix the hormones until the mold's removed. I mean, you can and
everybody wants
to do CPR. You can do CPR to the hormones, but you got to get rid of the mold, and getting rid of the mold. Oh my gosh. Is that a big deal?
That's a big deal. And I don't think it's not fair. Again, it's not fair or fun. But yes, it is. It can be very challenging. It can be very long, especially if some people realize 10 years later, oh my gosh, I've been living in a moldy house for 10 years. What's 10 years of mold accumulation you've got to work on in your body, right? Or it's sometimes even longer. I mean, I've had people that are like, whoa, I was raised in this house. I live in this house, and I did not realize 30 years later, I am completely afflicted by mold. And so don't think it's an overnight. Don't think it's a quick tea, a cold shower that's gonna just magically get rid of the mold. Yeah, we have to help with the whole process of 1, getting rid of it, 2, detoxifying it, and then 3, with your immune system. Like we tell your immune system and the brain, like, okay, it's gone now. Hopefully, let's calm down. So it's a very multi-step process.
It is a multi-step process.
Not fair. It's not fair at all. Trust me, I know it's not fair.
Have you gone through mold? Have you had?
I have not gone through. No, mold is not. I'm more of a histamine person as opposed to a mold. Mold has not affected me. Knock on wood.
Yes. And everywhere. you probably won't have any mold in Phoenix, Arizona either.
That's a good question. I've been told both ways. I have been told that there is quite a bit of mold in Phoenix, and then I have been, because of the stucco homes, the way the homes are built there, the style of home that it tends to trap mold in. And then I've been told the opposite because of that extreme heat that, but it's not wet unless it's monsoon season. That there's not a lot of mold. So I I don't know, but I live in the Pacific Northwest. It rains all the time.
I know.
I feel like if anyone's going to be mold, it's up here.
I wanted to ask you while we're landing this plane. So what would you say? I'm going to ask you two questions. What would you say? Welcome to your 40s. And then what would you say? Welcome to your 50s. I know you're not 50 yet, but you will one of these days.
Yep, I will. In 6 years, I will be. So welcome to your 40s. This is you can't get away with what you could get away with when you were younger. That's what I tell when I've had more women say to me, I've changed nothing. I didn't change my diet, my lifestyle, my habits, nothing. And everything changed. I'm like, well, welcome to your 40s. So be prepared to make some changes. And now is the best time to start to take care of yourself for perimenopause is in your 30s. But if you're already in your 40s, then the best time is yesterday. So just start. And by take care of yourself, I mean, you were backing out of puberty. Remember how intense and how stressful and how long puberty took? You're backing out of it. So you are honestly going to have to rest more. You're going to have to say no more. You're going to have to be stronger in your boundaries and what you do for your boundaries. You're not going to be able to get away with the amount of alcohol you drank or the amount of carbohydrates you ate or the amount of sugar. And I don't mean that as like a shaming sort of thing. I mean, literally, as you go through perimenopause, the way you process stuff changes. Your liver changes. How you handle blood sugar changes. It's not fair. It's not fun. It is part of the perimenopausal process. And so how you exercise may have to change. If you are a, all out CrossFitter, spin bike, you run fast, run hard, go for it. That might be too much. You may have to find yourself cutting back because it's too inflammatory. It's too much. It's too stressful as you're going through this change. So in your 40s, if you boil it down, it's take care of yourself, but no joke, like put yourself first, not just in the top, 5 of your family, but like first, because otherwise you're going to be pouring from an empty cup very quickly, as you found out, but in your 50s, because in your 50s, depending on when you go through menopause, because some women go in 40s and some women go in their 50s. So in your 50s, it's even more important because we're thinking about heart health and bone health and brain health and skin health and like longevity at that point. And once you get in your 50s and you really are staring menopause in the face. And I don't want you to have a broken bone or a fracture. And I don't want you to get start to develop dementia-like symptoms. And I surely don't want you to have to go on blood pressure medication and suddenly have to get some cardiovascular workup if we can avoid it. So I want to teach women like we have to take this very seriously because it's coming. And there are a very small percent of women that, God bless them, do glide naturally through menopause. I mean, either they're in the denial or they just have fantastic, amazing genes we need to bottle up and sell. But I have had a few women go, I've never had a hot flash. Like my menopause was pretty easy, like, great, wonderful. Not talking to you. Yeah. The majority of women,
me either.
The majority of women are going to experience something at some point. And I just want them eyes wide open of, oh, this is what Isabel and Carrie were talking about. Okay. And it may come and go. You may get it for a week and it goes away. You may get hot flashes for a month and it goes away, or you may get them. And if you don't do anything about it, they don't go away. So know there's a lot out there. There's a lot of education. There's a lot of resources like you and me and a lot out there to help guide you. And if you have a practitioner who doesn't believe you and doesn't understand perimenopause and menopause, if you like them, keep them for the acute stuff and find another practitioner who understands hormones. Totally fine. It's okay to have multiple people in your medical team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you're the CEO of your health.
100%.
Yep. And when you see the doctor, make sure that doctor understands bioidentical hormones. You don't want to be placed on Provera, which is a synthetic progesterone. And that is one of the big causes of breast cancer too.
That came out in that study, that WHI trial, that for sure has been shown that the Provera addition is the big problem.
Huge. Yeah. And just make sure the doctor understands bioidentical hormones. And if not, then seek the right doctor.
Yes. And there's great options. I had somebody, just because it's bioidentical, it doesn't necessarily have to be compounded. So we have pharmacies, we have a typical pharmacy, and then we have what are called compounding pharmacies, and compounding pharmacies make it up for you as opposed to it's off the shelf. You know, you just go buy it off the shelf. So there are some great prescription bioidentical, right? There's like the patch. I have women who get very upset. You know, they're like, oh, my doctor prescribed the patch. I had to pick it up at my pharmacy, Walgreens, Rite Aid, CVS,
it's okay.
And they freak out. That must not be bioidentical. I mean, no, it is. It is.
I use it. I use the patch.
Right. And there's a progesterone. It's called Prometrium. And I'm like, no, it is. It is. That one, that Prometrium is good. That's a good one. It has peanut oil in it. So be careful if you have a peanut allergy. But there are, you don't necessarily have to get it compounded, but you can. So there's great options out there.
There are. And down here in New Zealand and Australia, the bioidentical progesterone is called 𝒕𝒕𝒆𝒓𝒄. So you can use that. And yes, it's a little more expensive, but hey, you're worth it, lady.
You are worth it. Remember, you're going to put yourself as number one now. Now you're just not like in the top group. You're at the top of the group at this point. You're way above the dog and the kid and, you know, the partner.
Yeah, because
like you're at the top.
Because I'm telling you, if mom's not good or the wife's not good, life will not be good for anybody, because you just can't help it. You try as much as you can, but
and like you said in the beginning, which I loved, as humans, not even just as doctors, as humans, we are taught to push and persevere, right? Like we are taught, just burn the candle at both ends. It's fine. And you will find when you hit your 40s and 50s, you cannot. And nowadays, a lot of people are finding they can't in their 30s. They're like, my 40s, I can't even do it at 35. Like I can't burn the candle at both ends at 35. I'm like, you better clean that up now. Find an expert, get some education, because when you do hit your 40s, it might be rough. And I don't want it to be rough. I want it to be smooth for you.
We'd love for it to be smooth for all of you ladies.
And if you and I had a magic pill, we would just airdrop it across the world, right? Like we would just put it in the water supply. We are not holding anything back. People ask, well, what's the magic pill for Perry? I swear if I had like one pill, I would just give it to everyone. I'd give it away. I would make no money on it because just be easier.
Everybody would be better.
Yeah.
Everybody would be better.
Not that simple.
What 3 action steps, before we end, what 3 action steps would you like to give the listeners so that they can start winning right away? I know you've given a lot, but 3 big kapows.
3 big kapows. One of my very first, number 1, and I have it on the sign behind me, is healing happens at joy. That says healing happens at joy. So when I said earlier, the brain's main job is to protect you, not to make you happy. That means you have to go find happiness. So when you are in a not safe, I don't feel protected state of mind, when you're fight or flight, what helps get you out of fight or flight and what helps ground you is when you are playing, when you are joyful, when you're in your community. And so I know it's a little tough right now, but do what you can to find real laughter, to find joy, to find your community, because then that helps tell the brain, I'm okay. Like I feel safe. And even if it's for 5 minutes, because you're looking at the funniest memes that your sister sent you, that counts. Every little bit helps. Don't think you have to find joy all freaking day. If it's in little bursts throughout the day, makes a big difference. So healing happens at joy. It helps push you out of the fight or flight into the calmer rest, digest, repair part of your body. Number 2, sleep fixes everything. So definitely seek help.
Yeah.
If you're not sleeping.
Let me say that. I love sleep. If I didn't sleep, I would not be alive.
Yes. And take it seriously. Get off your phones and screens before bed. If you feel like you need to be in bed by 8:30 night, do it. It's okay. You're an adult. It doesn't matter what time, like go to bed when you need to go to bed. And seek help. If you're not sleeping, don't be afraid to seek help. Don't think you're going to outgrow it or it's just a phase, because as you are in your 40s and 50s, we want you to take sleep very seriously. You repair as a human, you repair in your sleep. Your brain detoxes in your sleep, not in the day, at night when you sleep, or if you're a night shift worker, it's when you sleep. So, sleep. So that's number 2. And then the third thing, and I've already said, is that you're going to start using the word no or no thank you more and more and more. You're going to set boundaries, because as busy go-getter women, we're usually like, sure, I can do that. Not a problem. I'll put that on my plate. You know what? I'll just do it because it'll get done right. Like, just let me handle it. Right. No, nope. And it's going to be real hard for a lot of women, but you're going to say no, or no, thank you, or not at this time more. And because you're going to open more space on your plate, you're going to open more space in your journal, in your calendar, your diary, because you need it. You need the breathing room as you hit your 40s and 50s. You need to rest when you need to rest, and you need to let the body know that you feel safe. And it's just going to feel good when you realize like you have some more breathing room in your schedule, and you're not always going 10 out of 10 and super stressed out and, burning the candle at both ends. That's not going to do your hormones any good. So the third actionable thing is you're going to start saying, no, no, thank you, not at this time, more often.
Beautiful. I love it. I'll take that prescription.
Right. Same here. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the greatest at it, but I'm trying. I'm definitely trying a lot. I'm not trying. I am making it a conscious effort to say no to more things, or schedule more buffer into my day, so that I'm not back to back to back to back to back, that I do have 30 minutes here, an hour here, 15 minutes here for breathing room. And it's made a big difference. Every time I do it, I'm happier.
I'm so glad that you're doing this in your 40s.
Yeah. Well, we don't have a choice, do we?
I congratulate you for doing it now in your 40s, because your 50s will be easier, your 60s. And gosh, what's it going to be like when we're 100? Could you imagine you and I podcasting? I'll be 100, you'll be 90, and we'll go, hey, remember?
Because our brains will be sharp, because we'll have taken all our own advice. Right. Yeah.
Right. Now, Carrie, where can everybody find you?
Instagram is where I love to hang out the most. I am at dr.carriejones. I do a lot of education. It's all free on Instagram, all around hormones, pretty much estrogen, progesterone, and the adrenal glands, cortisol, DHEA, testosterone. So that's where I hang out the most. And then at Dutch, the test we talked about, 𝒐𝒐𝒐𝒐.com. Every educational thing on there, webinars, podcasts like this one, will be on there. You can watch whatever you want to watch and learn whatever you want to learn. We just put it up there for people.
Thank you. And this will, all those links will be in the show notes. All right. Well, I hope you're going to go have a little rest now.
Yes. Get a snack. My afternoon snack.
Cool. And I'm going to go for an hour walk all by myself. And then I'm going to call my mom. And then I'm going to go for another hour walk with my girlfriend. And that's
amazing.
That's my 2-hour present. And then, it's full on, you know how it goes.
Oh yeah. My husband texted me, we both work from home.
Yeah.
And he texted me that the dog is dying of neglect. Our dog was the most spoiled dog in the whole world. He said the dog is dying of neglect. So we will take the dog for a walk.
Oh, cute. How cute. All right. Well, thank you so much. Remain unstoppable. You're doing great work and helping millions of people. Thank you so much for your wonderful work.
Oh, you too. Thank you, Isabel.
Thank you.